My daughter's teacher was molesting students. The police said they didn't have enough evidence, so I became the evidence. What I did was illegal. I'd do it again. Sophie was 8 years old when she stopped being happy. It happened gradually. Small changes I attributed to normal kid stuff. She'd been excited about third grade in August, talking nonstop about her new teacher, Mr. Reeves, about the classroom with the big windows, about the reading corner with beanbag chairs. By October, she was begging not to go to school. Every morning became a battle. My wife Claire would try to get her dressed and Sophie would cry. Real tears, not the fake ones kids use to avoid things. These were tears of genuine distress. "My stomach hurts," she'd say. "Please don't make me go." We'd check for fever, nothing, ask where it hurt. She'd just shake her head. Then came the nightmares. Sophie would wake up screaming 3-4 times a night. Claire and I would take turns sitting with her until she fell back asleep. She never wanted to talk about the dreams. The bedwetting started in November. Sophie had been dry at night since she was 4. Suddenly we were back to plastic sheets and midnight laundry. She stopped eating. Breakfast went untouched. Her lunch came home full. Dinner became negotiations that ended with Sophie crying. We asked her teacher if other kids were being mean. Mr. Reeves said Sophie was a model student, well-liked, no problems at all. We took her to Dr. Patterson, her pediatrician, full physical exam, everything checked out fine. He suggested anxiety disorder, recommended a child psychologist. The appointment was 2 weeks out. 2 weeks felt like forever watching your child fall apart. The moment that changed everything happened on a Tuesday night in late November. I was in the hallway outside Sophie's room. She was supposed to be sleeping, but I could hear her talking to someone, except she was alone. I stood outside her door and listened. She was talking to her stuffed elephant, Mr. Trunks, whispering so quietly I had to strain to hear. "It's okay, Mr. Trunks. Mr. Reeves says it's our secret. Good girls keep secrets." My blood went cold. I pulled out my phone with shaking hands, opened the voice recorder, hit record. "Mr. Reeves says I'm special," Sophie whispered. "Special girls get special reading time, just him and me, in the storage room." I had to lean against the wall to stay standing. "He says if I tell, Mommy and Daddy will be mad. He says nobody will believe me because he's the teacher and I'm just a kid." The recording ran 3 more minutes. By the end, I was in the bathroom throwing up. Claire found me on the floor 20 minutes later. "What happened?" I couldn't speak, just handed her my phone. I watched her face as she listened, watched the color drain away, watched her eyes go from confused to horrified to something I'd never seen before. She went straight to Sophie's room. I followed. Claire sat on the edge of Sophie's bed. Our daughter was still awake, clutching Mr. Trunks. "Sweetheart," Claire said gently, "I need to ask you some questions. You won't be in trouble, I promise." Sophie nodded, eyes already filling with tears. "Has Mr. Reeves ever touched you in a way that made you uncomfortable?" Sophie started crying harder, nodded. "Can you tell me where?" Sophie pointed to her chest, then between her legs. Claire kept her voice calm. Dr. Patterson had given us guidelines about this kind of conversation. "Don't lead her, let her tell us in her own words." "When did this happen?" "Lots of times, during special reading time. He says I'm his favorite." I had to leave, went to the garage and put my fist through the drywall, then another hole, then another. Until my knuckles were bleeding and Claire was pulling me away saying we needed to go to the police right now. We drove to the station at 9:30, Sophie in her pajamas clutching Mr. Trunks. Claire's sister drove because neither of us could focus. Detective Morrison met us. Gray hair, kind eyes. He brought Sophie to a special interview room with soft chairs and toys. A trained forensic interviewer talked to her while Claire and I watched through one-way glass. Sophie told her everything. The storage room, the touching, the secrets. When it ended, Morrison brought us to his office. "I believe your daughter," he said immediately, "but I need to be honest about what happens next." "You arrest him," I said, "tonight." "It's not that simple. We have Sophie's testimony. That's important." "But in court, it's her word against his. We need physical evidence, medical evidence, corroboration." "She's 8 years old," Claire said. "What more do you need?" "I know, but the DA won't file charges without more evidence. These cases get destroyed in court when it's only testimony." We took Sophie to the hospital for a forensic exam. The results were inconclusive. The last incident had been 3 weeks ago. Too much time had passed. Detective Morrison filed a report with the school district. Mr. Reeves was placed on administrative leave. His attorney released a statement within 24 hours. "False allegations from a troubled child. Mr. Reeves is a dedicated educator who maintains his innocence. The school board met. They couldn't fire a tenured teacher without proof. Union rules, legal liability. Mr. Reeves stayed on paid leave. 3 weeks later, Detective Morrison called. The DA reviewed the case. They're not filing charges. What? Without physical evidence or other victims coming forward, they don't think they can win at trial. So he just gets away with it. My hands are tied, I'm sorry. I sat in my car for an hour, just thinking about Mr. Reeves going back to his classroom, back to other children. That night I started digging. Brian Reeves, 12 years at Meadowbrook Elementary. Before that, 2 years at Riverside Elementary in Ohio. Before that, 3 years at Greenfield Academy in Pennsylvania. Before that, 3 years in Iowa. 4 schools in 20 years, never staying long. Always vague reasons for leaving. I found a Facebook group for Riverside Elementary parents, asked if anyone remembered Mr. Reeves. A woman named Jennifer Matthews responded. Why are you asking? I messaged her privately, told her about Sophie. She called me 10 minutes later, crying. He did the same thing to my son 8 years ago. 3rd grade, nightmares, bedwetting, everything. We went to the police. They said they couldn't do anything. Did other families come forward? One, a girl from his previous year. Nothing happened. Reeves left at the end of that year. I found families from Pennsylvania, from Iowa, sealed settlement agreements, confidentiality clauses, families who'd moved rather than fight. By the time I finished 3 weeks later, I'd identified 12 confirmed victims across 4 states over 20 years. Mr. Reeves was a predator. The system knew, schools knew. They just passed him along. I told Claire everything at 2 in the morning. What do we do? She asked. Someone has to stop him. If the police won't, then I will. David, he's going to hurt more children. How many before someone stops him? She was quiet. Then, what's your plan? I'm going to get evidence, real evidence. That's illegal. You could go to prison. I know, you could lose everything. If I do nothing knowing what I know, how do I live with that? Claire closed her eyes. Don't tell me the details, I can't know. I spent a week watching Brian Reeves, learned his patterns. School at 7:15. Home by 4. Gym Tuesday and Thursday evenings. Groceries Saturday mornings. He lived alone in a small house. 2 bedrooms, neat lawn, American flag on the porch. Picture of normalcy. I bought equipment online using prepaid cards from gas stations. Small wireless cameras, motion sensors. Everything paid for in cash, shipped to a P.O. box under a fake name. On a Tuesday, while Reeves was at the gym, I broke into his house through a back window. Took 3 minutes to pick the lock. My heart pounded so hard I thought it might break through my chest. Inside was exactly what you'd expect. Modest furniture, tidy kitchen, family photos, Sunday school attendance certificates in the hallway. The cognitive dissonance was staggering. This looked like a normal person's home. I installed cameras. One in the living room, hidden in a smoke detector. Kitchen, bedroom. Then I found the basement, desk with high-end computer setup, multiple monitors, external hard drives stacked on shelves, a locked cabinet. I installed a camera above the desk angled to capture the screens. The cabinet lock was cheap. Open in 30 seconds. Inside were photo albums, physical albums with plastic sleeves. I opened one, Polaroids, children in various states of undress. Different children across different years. My hands shook so badly I almost dropped it. I flipped through. 20 photos, different children, different ages, all terrified. Page 17. Sophie, her face, her clothes, the storage room at school, the bulletin board visible behind her. I ran to the utility sink and vomited. For 30 seconds I considered waiting for Reeves to come home. The tools on the pegboard, the hammer, the saw, but Sophie needed her father. I took one photo, the one of Sophie, left everything else exactly as I found it. If more went missing, he'd notice. Locked the cabinet, made sure everything looked undisturbed, left through the back window, sat in my driveway for an hour before going inside. For 3 weeks I watched the camera feeds, mostly boring, Reeves eating dinner, watching TV, reading, but several times a week he went to the basement, sat at his computer. Accessed encrypted folders, organized files. The school district was sending him letters. His attorney was fighting the administrative leave. Citing his perfect record, the letters suggested he might return after winter break. 3 weeks and 4 days after I installed the cameras, Reeves sent Instagram messages to another girl. A second grader, careful grooming language, compliments about how smart she was, how mature, how special. I watched him type them on screen, watched him smile. That was enough. I spent 2 days compiling everything. edited the footage showing Reeves accessing files, typing messages, made transcripts with timestamps, included the Polaroid of Sophie, created anonymous email accounts using public library computers, bought burner phones with cash from different stores, sent packages to Detective Morrison, local news, FBI field office, state attorney general, everything sent from different cities. I drove to towns an hour away, 2 hours away, different post offices, different drop boxes. The news broke 48 hours later. Local teacher arrested in child exploitation case. Acting on anonymous tip, police recovered substantial evidence spanning multiple years. Footage showed police vehicles outside Reeves' house, him being led out in handcuffs, FBI agents carrying boxes. Detective Morrison's statement. We received credible information leading to the discovery of hundreds of images. We believe there may be multiple victims. District Attorney announced charges, 17 counts of child exploitation, 12 counts of production of child pornography, 8 counts of sexual assault. I watched with Claire. Sophie was at her grandmother's house. Is it over? Claire asked. For Reeves, yeah, for me, maybe not. 2 weeks later, Detective Morrison came to my house. Can we talk? We sat in the living room. The FBI analyzed the evidence. The cameras were installed approximately 3 weeks before we received the tip. Installation required breaking and entering. The surveillance itself is illegal in Illinois without consent. I said nothing. Someone committed multiple felonies to get this evidence. That person is in serious legal jeopardy. The evidence is real, though. The evidence is real, but it was obtained illegally. Will the charges stick? Morrison hesitated. 7 victims have come forward since the arrest. Their testimony is legally obtained evidence. The surveillance is corroborative. So Reeves goes to trial regardless. Yes. But whoever broke in is looking at felony charges if identified. He handed me his card. If you know who did this, tell them to get a good attorney, and tell them off the record what they did saved lives. He left. I hired David Park, criminal defense attorney, told him everything. Don't talk to anyone, he said immediately. Not police, not FBI, not your wife. They can't prove it was you unless you confess or they find physical evidence. They're tracking the purchases. Probably, cash makes it harder. Say nothing. Let me handle any law enforcement contact. Brian Reeves' trial started 6 months later. 7 children testified. Sophie was 4th. Claire and I sat in the gallery while our daughter told a courtroom what her teacher had done. Reeves' attorney tried to discredit the children. Suggested false memories, coached testimony. The jury looked disgusted. The prosecution introduced the surveillance footage as corroboration. The defense objected on Fourth Amendment grounds. The judge ruled the victim's testimony established probable cause. The surveillance, while problematic, was admissible as supporting evidence. The jury deliberated 6 hours. Guilty on all counts. Sentencing came 2 weeks later. 127 years, life. You exploited children in your care, the judge said. You violated trust. The law allows no punishment severe enough. Reeves said nothing. 3 weeks later at 6:47 in the morning, someone knocked on our door. FBI, 2 agents. David Chen? Yes, we have a warrant for your arrest, breaking and entering unlawful surveillance. Sophie was at the top of the stairs watching. Claire was crying. They put handcuffs on me in my kitchen, read my rights, walked me to their car while neighbors watched. The evidence was circumstantial but strong. Camera purchases traced to stores I'd been seen entering. My phone pinged towers near Reeves' house that night, a partial fingerprint on the window frame. David Park advised not to fight it. Plead guilty, show remorse for your methods, the judge will be sympathetic. The DA offered a deal, plead guilty to reduced charges, lighter sentence, drop wiretapping if I admitted breaking and entering an unlawful surveillance. I took it. Public reaction split down the middle. Half saw me as a vigilante, half saw me as a father protecting children. An online petition for clemency gathered 400,000 signatures. My sentencing hearing moved to a larger courtroom. Parents of Reeves' victims attended. Some cried. Some applauded when I entered. Claire testified. He did what any parent would do, what the police couldn't do, what schools wouldn't do, and now you're punishing him for it. Sophie wrote a letter, too young to testify, but the judge read it aloud. My daddy saved me, mister. Reeves hurt me and my daddy made it stop. My daddy is a hero. The prosecutor argued laws apply to everyone regardless of motive. The judge took 3 days to decide. When I stood for sentencing, she looked at me for a long time. Mister. Chen, what you did was illegal. These are serious crimes. We cannot have citizens taking law enforcement into their own hands. I nodded. However, the system failed your daughter, failed multiple children. You acted out of desperation, not malice. You acted to protect children when no one else would. She paused, 18 months in minimum security followed by 3 years supervised probation, eligible for work release after 6 months. The courtroom erupted. Mr. Chen, anything to say? I looked at the judge, at Claire, at the other parents. I broke the law, I knew the consequences. I'd do it again. I believe you would, and I hope you never have to. I served 14 months, got out early for good behavior, wore an ankle monitor for 4 months and reported to a probation officer weekly. Sophie visited every weekend, drew pictures. Told me about school, about her new teacher, about feeling safe again. When you come home, can we get ice cream? Every day if you want. That would be too much, Daddy, maybe just Fridays. Friday ice cream it is. When I got out, employers Googled my name. Most wouldn't hire me, but some did, people who believed I'd done the right thing. I got work doing IT consulting from home, enough to pay bills. Sophie's in 6th grade now, doing well, therapy helped, she's happy, plays soccer, has friends. She knows what I did, knows I went to prison, knows why. You saved me, Daddy, she said once. We'd do anything for you. I know. The system failed my daughter, failed 12 other children across 4 states. Failed every kid who might have come after if someone hadn't stopped Brian Reeves. I broke the law, knew it was illegal, knew I might go to prison, knew I might lose everything, but Reeves is in prison for life, and Sophie is safe. What I did was illegal. I'd do it again. Thanks for listening. If you've ever been in a situation where doing the right thing meant breaking the rules, I'd love to hear your story in the comments. And if you think the system sometimes fails the people it's supposed to protect, hit subscribe. Sometimes the hardest choices require the most courage.